Hello, everybody. I got an explanation to make, and it was it was actually one of my friends who also subscribed to my channel, and a couple individuals who actually openly called this out, like Wes. I think you made a fuck up, and I said, "What happened?" And they told me, I'm like, "Mother." So I realized what probably happened, because this happens to me more times than not. Because I have to go over and rewatch, but I didn't do it this time before I uploaded it. Because I didn't think I had to, but what most likely happened without my realizing it, I get interrupted a lot. Every time I try to make recordings, it's nighttime, and the worst that happens is you can hear somebody gaming in the room next to mine because these walls suck, right? And I gotta make me a means to sound suppress my door, and it's gonna look tacky, but I don't give a fuck. It'll work when I get it done, and I don't want any. I'm not gonna say which relative it was. Bitched at me when I made the suggestion prior because they're an opinionated boomer, and that's all that needs to be said. And that's the truth. That's all there is to say. It's the truth. I got interrupted a lot that day when I made the recordings. I made what was the original video file for this topic that this is a refilm of to correct, and in another, 2 of them. I managed to get 3 made, and surprisingly, the other 2 didn't need as many re-recording takes. And I could tell people, like, look, this is the day I choose to try to record or re-record or whatever. How long is that going to take? I don't know. Why don't you participate with me and see what it's like to have to record and re-record and rehearse for days on end to try to get the script you're going to talk about fucking right. Why don't you try joining me? Why don't you watch the process? Then maybe you'll understand. They don't want to admit it. Because they want to say I sound like a dick when I tell them I know what it is. It's simply the fact you don't care. You don't respect it and you don't care. It's that simple. But they get offended when I say that. For obvious reasons. So what most likely happened is that day I probably got interrupted a bunch. I mean a bunch. And by the time I got back, I went to clearing some old files, and I thought I had saved the proper one, and I put it together in my Windows Movie Maker because I use that old thing to splice videos together because it does well enough. I don't need to update anything else. And I save it for the 1080p format, and then I upload it. So that's what I did. So I thought, and I probably accidentally deleted my original file that title was going to go to, and I messed up, and I didn't play it back because I thought I had the file right there based on the recording dates. When the OBS puts its date, it titles the videos by date, and all that stuff. So and it was the same date as the other stuff, so I thought it was exactly that. So I made that mistake, not realizing because of repeated distractions. So I apologize for that screw up, and let's get to the actual. Hopefully this time will be the correct. Everything across the board will be correct. Hopefully this time. Now, there is a reason that I do not eat any pork of any rarity. I have personally, based on what I know about pig farming and all that stuff and helping take care of pigs in the past, I have my own stricter standards than most when it comes to pork. Whether to give me assurance whether I can take a chance eating it rare or medium rare or anything like that, or let alone raw. Now, Cohen Farms, it sells milk-fed pork, and Joel Salatin's Polyface Farms both come close to this, and I'll explain that soon. If you do not follow these 7 practices, at the bare minimum, 4 of them, the bare minimum 4, I will not trust your pork unless I cook it well done. Okay? Simple. Practice number 1. rotational grazing between paddocks every 5 to 12 days. They stay in each paddock before moving them to the next. Look up the video. Joel Salatin teaches pasture pigs in parentheses for profit on the Justin Rhodes YouTube channel as an example. The trick is to keep them from staying in the same spot long enough to dig out a mud hole to shit, piss, sleep, and waller in, because that's when they have the chance of becoming secondary and tertiary carriers for parasites, including the infamous one that sounds to me absolutely wretched. To me, having the idea of bugs playing peekaboo with my asshole and with each other and through my brain as they tunnel holes in it, creating gangrene in it, leading me to seize to death as my soul screams, "I want the fuck out of here!" before I die. It sounds terrifying to me. 2. Occasional deworming for prevention and maintenance. Regardless, whether it's drugs, herbal extracts, combos of either, or you rotate between the two and combos of the two. Okay? Simple. 3. Maybe add a little MCT source to the feed to bolster their immune systems, and ideally make use of like coconut pulp and babasu pulp or meal from pressing those fats out from a source, or give them a little monolaurin if you want instead. And these would be the ideal examples to ensure their tissues will be less likely to carry different pathogens like E. coli, salmonella, and so on and so forth. This small doses would work in feedlot adjunct feeding to cattle as well, right? Same with chickens, ducks, and geese, and all that too. And their eggs will carry some of that. And yeah. 4. Not allowing food wastes to foster creepy crawlies or foster microbial terrors like species of black mold that actually produce toxins that make us sick. Yes, pigs can take hits, but they can also get sick from the shit just like you and I can. So less often their immune systems take hits, the better. You don't want them to start going into random and uncontrollable tremors now, do you? I don't fucking think so. 5. Better feedlot standards. Like examples of like the better feedlot standards. Better air circulation. Allowing more sunlight into the feedlots, to shine on the pigs. During the warmer seasons, UVB lamps or light bulbs. In the colder seasons, turning shit and piss slurry lakes, they contribute into biomethane digesters to sequester a big chunk of methane and stretch the natural gas supply, henceforth deflating the cost more and providing more jobs for people, as examples of bettering the feedlots. Number 6. Here are things I advocate, as suggestions to consider. I advocate considering them as things to try to see if you can, to incorporate into their feedlot feeding. Like stuff to mix with the food waste. Here are the suggestions I advocate considering. Besides adding a little MCT there, to their systems when they eat. Some hemp seed cake meal, rapeseed cake meal, canola seed cake meal, sunflower seed, cake meal. Same from safflower cake meal, peanut meal for pressing those oil out. Those types of oils out, ideally for biodiesel production. Leave the cottonseed meal out of all animal feed and use that shit as a fertilizer for the fields that cotton was grown in when you crop rotate, for the love of God. Please listen to that last part, because my dad, I'll never forget it. I'm not going to say who the relative was or what relation by blood that was, but outside that clue, raised some cattle and fattened some cows up to kill for beef or bulls or whatever. And my dad and I wanted some liver and onions. My mom put that into cooking to get ready for making liver and onions. That put out a smell that was so bad, Dad and I were heaving, throwing up in our mouths as we tried to run, and Dad was going clink, 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 like the old Cat Williams tink, tink joke with the walker, hopping with the walker trying to get out the fucking front door. I fell face first, nearly broke my nose into the doorway getting out the door to the front porch, and then I got back to my hands and knees. I practically crawled out the door going, and I was starting to actually, stuff was starting to come up almost about just that close before I got it under control, and it was so bad, and it stunk the whole fucking house. And Dad screamed, "Get that goddamn shit the fuck out of here!" He did say that. He screamed it. And then he started coughing that smoker's cough from screaming really hard. Come to find out, the son of a bitch that gave us the beef put cottonseed meal in the feed that they used. So the relative of mine that is their spouse secretly started throwing that shit to the woods and replacing it with store-bought beef from Walmart or wherever they can get it. So the one that beef that was raised and fed the cottonseed meal as part of the feed ration was gotten rid of, and they didn't tell the difference because they never tried it, because there was none in there. It was all wrapped up to trick them. And that's the truth. Do not put cottonseed meal in your animal feed, or you deserve to be kicked in the dick or cunt. Period. You are a fucking moron if you do that. There's your little backstory of why I'm against using cottonseed meal in fucking feed at all. It's disgusting. It makes the flesh disgusting as all hell. Here's some other suggestions about what you can use. Like, make deals with woodlot owners about getting pigs to rotate them through the woodlots so they can eat the acorns their trees make and drop, and eat or destroy pest plants in that area as well, which is a good thing for the woodlots. Fertilizing the ground allows more productivity as well. And for the last 2 to 3 months of the finishing period, you're going to feedlot fatten them with. Continue pasture raising them, like take them to the woodlots if you got a trade agreement with the woodlot owners as part of the finishing period. Oscillate, fatten them up, let them rotate, graze rotationally a little, and then go back to in between fattening periods so that the fatten gets distributed through the muscles a little more, and you get all that benefit while still having a high amount of marbling that you go for pork. And then the last suggestion I'm going to give you is like maybe to adding to the food waste, or you could chop up some of the acorns and chop them up to throw. It's like almost like a meal to throw in with the food waste along with all these other suggestions, right? Last suggestion would be you could ensill, or turn for 2 months minimum some purslane to get that oxalate bottomed out, and then that purslane silage can give them a bioaccumulatable long chain omega-3 fat built up into their tissues to store, and that'll improve the pork in certain aspects. Plus it'll give them some antioxidants that they can metabolize and accumulate the metabolites thereof into their flesh as well. It's something so purslane silage can be done. That would be my last suggested food additive you could consider to throw on the food waste you want to fatten them with at feedlots. You can also, that's the penultimate. Last ones would be like fresh chopped greenery and grasses and stuff like that. These are all suggestions to fit in that make up practice number 6. My last standard practice would be number 7. Make them sons of bitches a bit cleaner. Keep them a bit cleaner. Keep them vaccinated with, the last 143 years of proven vaccine theory science. It's not questionable jabbas that are pushed by so-called authorities that do not fit the bare minimum criteria of what a vaccine is, and more people have been catching on, exposing this, proving us libertarians and conservatives that called this shit out from the start right once again, and everyone who wants us to live with them fucks who treated us like AIDS shit can all take axes to the face as far as, in my opinion, because fuck all you sheeple and asswipes. Even though I say this, I won't go as far as Ted Nugent, and I will show, you know, possible empathy deficiency in this particular little area and throw everyone under the bus. I will say, I won't oversimplify and generalize, because I know some of the public did it because they were forced to take such authoritarian experimental jabbas, and others were, you know, doing it because they hoped they weren't going to be lied to. What a shock they were. So yes, I respect the savagery when he did that, but I'm not gonna generalize as fiercely, because I'm reasonable enough to, you know, do it, you know, tell the fucking difference. Now, I will give an additional 8th one. It's not part of the, you know, the 7 core, but it is an additional 8th one. If you want, get an occasional mega vitamin and multivitamin and mineral pill to give them, to ensure that they get the bare minimum of every single nutrient they need, because that will increase their efficacy in converting feed into you use into meat and fat. So that's an 8th optional suggestion. It's more of a suggestion instead of a bare minimum 7, you know, practices, you know, for my, you know, standards. Cohen Farms, the way they feed them and the way they rotationally graze them so strictly, they minimize the need for number 2. They keep them clean, and they keep them relatively clean. They raise them decently enough so they minimize the need for practicing number 3. I don't think either one of them gives them food waste, and if they do, I'm pretty sure it fits number 4, and they already do number 1. So they're closer than by these things I just point out than everybody else on the freaking planet. These are my pork standards, okay? These are my pork standards, and what I will settle for. Those 4, I would settle for that. So those 2 guys that practice those bare minimum 4 things I pointed out, and how they matter in this list, you know, compared to this list. So that said, I'm gonna head out. Hopefully that'll give you some thought about whatnot, and also check out my raw food safety video down below. Thank you for watching.